What happened to Martin Shkreli? But before that, some context. Martin Shkreli has one of the most punchable faces in all media. Many despise this man. In 2015, Martin Shkreli raised the price of Daraprim from $14 a pill to $750 a pill, drawing the ire of everyone in America. Patients with the rare parasitic diseases or people prone to them, like AIDS patients that Daraprim was supposed to treat, were crying foul. People who were fed up with corporate America jacking up drug prices for years without any legal repercussions were furious. They protested in the streets, yelling at the man that had the gall to raise the price of a life-saving drug.
Despite your claims that you made it possible for people to get your pills for free, people died because of the price hike. I'm asking you a question.
Hey, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Make another Twitter account.
Especially when the patent for Daraprim had just expired. There was no generic version available, at least until the year 2020, a whole 5 years from back then. Despite its long existence, Daraprim was a rarely used drug. No manufacturer wanted to foot the costs of selling the drug to a limited amount of patients. Quantities were limited. Traditionally, drug companies get away with charging astronomical amounts for rare drugs targeting rare diseases. Martin Shkreli knew about this controversial playbook and he abused it to make more money. When confronted by the people for his antics, Martin Shkreli was only smug and unapologetic, driving the controversy further. Shkreli's greed and indifference backfired on him. Lawmakers got involved. The government stepped in. Then, once the dust settled, Shkreli was behind bars, exactly where everyone wanted him to be. Today, we are going to talk about what happened to Shkreli after he left prison early and what he's been up to these days. After serving 5 years in prison, Martin Shkreli was allowed to leave early after he completed almost everything required for a shortened prison sentence. Since leaving prison, Martin Shkreli announced his new software company, Drug-like, that removes barriers to early-stage drug discovery. Drug-like is also a Web3 crypto company. It was only after the release of ChatGPT that Drug-like pivoted and entered the field of AI. Shkreli's AI chatbot, Dr. Gupta, is a medical chatbot which teaches users how to treat their medical conditions. He claims Dr. Gupta's AI will one day replace all doctors as the primary source of all healthcare information in the world. It seems Dr. Gupta is important to Shkreli's ambitions to disrupt healthcare. It's also important to understand Dr. Gupta is not an actual doctor for legal reasons. Martin Shkreli's Twitter account, Marty Catboy, was suspended within days after the announcement of his Dr. Gupta chatbot, but not his Dr. Gupta Twitter account, which was used to question Twitter about Shkreli's Twitter account suspension. Shkreli had to respond to his Twitter suspension on LinkedIn, saying it's easier to get out of literal jail than Twitter jail, before telling his fans to follow him on Substack or Blue Sky, a social media platform made by an ex-Twitter founder, Jack Dorsey. Dr. Gupta is owned by the company Drug-like, founded by Martin Shkreli. Many might be wondering why Shkreli is allowed to work in the medical industry after what he did in the past, and he isn't. The FTC is investigating whether Shkreli is violating a court-ordered lifetime ban on working in the pharmaceutical industry through the release of his Dr. Gupta chatbot. It appears Shkreli is not cooperating with the investigation. The Federal Trade Commission asked federal judges to hold Martin Shkreli in contempt for obstructing the FTC from enforcing his ban on working in the pharmaceutical industry. Martin Shkreli has been asked several times to provide information about his AI company Drug-like, but he hasn't. If the FTC finds him guilty of evading the ban, Martin Shkreli would have to pay $65 million in penalty fines to the government for starting a company in the pharmaceutical industry. Lawyers working for Martin Shkreli have refuted all allegations made by the FTC, saying Drug-like wasn't a drug company but a Web3 software company, and Shkreli may be right. Dr. Gupta is an AI chatbot built using OpenAI's technology, the same tech that powers ChatGPT, so technically it doesn't count. But don't quote me on that. It depends on what the FTC and the courts decide. However, that doesn't make Shkreli's AI chatbot any less sketchy. You're basically asking AI for medical advice. Things could go wrong in a ton of ways, and he knows that. Before you use Dr. Gupta's AI, you have to agree to a disclaimer that agrees to hold the company company unaccountable for any action or inaction suggested by Dr. Gupta's AI. In addition, if you look at the US Probation Office's records, Martin Shkreli went on record saying he's employed for a company called Drug-like but denied any ownership or executive roles. So he tried to deny owning Drug-like before changing the name to TL Software. Martin Shkreli has gone on to say doctors are at fault for making healthcare so expensive. Martin believes he is helping the underfunded and undeserved communities. It will be his AI that makes patient lives better, not Mark Cuban and his cost-plus online pharmacy that sells cheaper drugs for consumers. According to the US Probation Office, currently, Shkreli is working as a consultant for Christopher K. Johnson, a law firm that pays Shkreli $2,500 a month. While Martin's not advising a law firm or running his Dr. Gupta startup, he goes on podcasts to promote his AI chatbot and offers advice to other criminals. Shkreli appears sympathetic to other fraudsters like FTX's founder Sam Bankman-Fried. Shkreli gave Sam some advice on prison through the Unchained podcast, telling his fellow criminal to shave his head, speak in a deeper voice to fit the very testosterone-filled masculine jail cells, and learn more about rap music. Shkreli also advised the FTX founder not to be autistic or effeminate like he usually is, because that's not something that goes over well in prison. Considering Sam will be in jail for 115 years if convicted, he needs all the advice he can get. I hope you liked the video. Leave a like if you did and subscribe if you haven't already. It's much appreciated.